You are what you read. And the more you read, the more you will learn about yourself, about your strengths, your weaknesses, about your successes, your failures, about your potential. Welcome to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon. I am the founder of Music Motivation and the creator of the Cool Songs Club. You can learn more about each of these at musicmotivation.com and www.coolsongsclub.com. Every weekly podcast is sponsored by various businesses, groups, associations, and organizations. Today's podcast has been sponsored by the Cool Songs Club. If you go to www.coolsongsclub.com, you can learn more about how to motivate and inspire piano students with these fun, cool songs that I compose for the piano students. If you'd like, you can download a free PDF book. It's a 130-page PDF book, and it's titled 20 Ways to Motivate Teen Piano Students to Want to Play the Piano the Fun Way. It actually features over 30 free cool songs that I've created and come out with. Now, the music is in this free PDF, but if you want to have the minus tracks, you'll need to purchase the Cool Songs Club series bundle. But to download this free PDF, visit my website, www.coolsongsclub.com/freebook, and you can download the free 130-page PDF book. Hope you enjoy it. Every new weekly podcast comes out on Monday and follows this format. First, I do a welcome or introduction to each new podcast, and then I share a few perceptions I have, many of which have been taken from an inspirational book I wrote, titled Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. Then I will always share a motivation in a minute, a few minutes on a motivational topic, after which I will share the music within, and share one of the compositions I've composed from my various albums, EPs, and singles of original music I've created. You can listen to any of my music on Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, Amazon, or any other streaming site or online music store. I also have music videos you can watch on my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Jerald Simon. Finally, I will share Poetry That Motivates, a poem I have written taken from one of the poetry books I've published. So today's podcast is titled, You Are What You Read. And we're going to talk a little bit about books and how books are portals to new worlds, new destinations. I'm excited to share this topic. I love books. I love going into libraries. I love going into old used bookstores. And so we are going to speak a little bit today about You Are What You Read. Now, this topic, of course, is similar to You Are What You Eat, and we've heard that before, where people talk about you are what you put in your body. Now, that is true. We are what we eat. But equally as important as what we feed ourselves physically is what we consume mentally, what we read. Have you ever thought about comparing the two, what you eat and what you read? If you think about it, in both respects we are consuming something. Now, we consume food, but we can also consume and even digest thoughts, ideas, words, experiences. Even if we have not lived those experiences, we can still live those experiences through books. Because books become portals to new destinations. Right now I would like to read for you from my book Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers what I wrote down about how or why we should start to immerse ourselves in good books. Now, this is from page 11 of my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. Let me go to that for a second, and I'm going to read this. It's a short little example that I wrote down, just a perspective or a point of view on life. It says this: immerse yourself in good books. Read 1 to 2 hours per week if you can, more if time permits. Become acquainted with the literary classics. Read as much as you can on personal improvement, self-help, history, people, business, and finances. Study the great works of the philosophers. Study scriptures and read about religions and anything that adds value to religious beliefs. Invest in yourself. Learn as much as you can and become a student of life. You can learn a great deal from the experiences of others, from their great successes and also from their failures. Everything you read becomes part of you. Carefully choose what you read on a daily basis. Be very careful with what you choose to read. The words you choose to read play an important role in your personal development and overall outlook on life. Be open-minded about what you read and often take what you read with a grain of salt. Much of what we read is written through colored lenses and is the summation of someone else's thought, habit, education, beliefs, and past and present life experiences. Now, there's a lot to digest in that little paragraph from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. What I was trying to convey and hopefully trying to share with others is that we need to immerse ourselves in education. Now, one of the best ways that we can become educated is by reading more books. Now, yes, there are many ways to learn. Some individuals learn better by hearing. So for them, audiobooks would work. Some people learn better by seeing, doing, experiencing. Well, we can actually watch visual books where books have been made into movies or documentaries. We can actually see everything unfold. But what I am referring to right now is opening a book. There is something magical when you open up a book and you read what has been written in that book. Now, there are good books, and there are books that could be better. But we have so many different topics, so many different interests. We can learn so much as we read books. Let me read another section. This is on page 49 from the same book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. And this is a suggestion that I have put in this book. It's something I personally try to do. I'm not always consistent at following my own advice, but I'm working on this. But this is my suggestion for reading at least 4 books per month. Now, most of the time I do average at least 1 to 2 books per week. Sometimes I average more books than that. I would like to get to the point where I'm reading 1 book per day. That is my goal for myself. You don't have to do that. But I want to read 1 book per day. That is my own personal ambition and goal. But in here, this is what I suggest. From the book, I say this. I suggest reading at least 4 books per month. This is what I suggest reading-wise to be done each month. 1 book per week, if possible. Study 1 artist or composer, dancer, or entertainer. Then study 1 philosopher, sage, revolutionary thinker. Study 1 scientist, inventor, business leader, etc. And study 1 prophet, apostle, religious leader. Now, those are 4 different areas. I go on and say this in the book. If you can read 1 book about each of these types of individuals, or 1 book covering the field, topic, or area of study of each of these every month, you will gain a greater understanding of the world around you. Enrich your life by learning and studying the lives of the greatest men and women who have lived on earth. Now, if you think about it, if we want to become like these great men and women, then it stands to reason that we need to learn about them. We need to study their lives. If you want to improve in any area of your life, there are experts all around you. Men and women who have achieved greatness in any area of life that you would like to focus on and improve upon. One of the first things I would suggest, pick a topic, an area that excites you, gets you wanting to do more, learning more. Maybe it's a hobby that you have. Maybe it's an area that you have always wanted to learn about. Maybe it's a historical event or an individual throughout history. Pick a topic and then pick an area or an individual within that area that you would like to learn about. Start learning about that person. Learn about that topic. As you immerse yourself in the books, you will start to learn more about yourself. Because we take the words we read and we apply them to our own situation. Everyone does. Whether they think about it or not, anything we read, we will typically step back and look at our own situation and say, is my situation similar to what this person experienced or what this story is telling me or conveying? And then when we make that parallel, because we all compare ourselves with others or other people or other places, other situations, anything we read we actually attribute or apply to our own experience because we should. It is how we view the world. But if we can view the world by our own experiences, enhanced by learning about the experiences others have around us, then we can take their good experiences, their bad experiences, the lessons they have learned, and we can apply them to our life. Then we can have those life lessons come alive. And in part, it's because of what we read. Now, right now, I'd like to read for the Motivation in a Minute this week. It's titled The Significance of Man. And it's on page 168, again, of my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. I put a lot into this book, and so there is a lot of information in this book. And that's why these first several podcasts, we are going to be talking about what is in this book and several other books that I've come out with. But let me read this to you. This is The Significance of Man, Khalil Gibran, who has wonderful books. If you have not read his philosophical books, he has some amazing insights into life. But he says this: the significance of a man is not in what he attains, but rather in what he longs to attain. Now, it's not just the significance of a man. We could, for an updated version of this, for modern time periods, we could say the significance of a man or a woman. We could say the significance of a teen or the significance of a youth. It's not in what they obtain. It's not in what they attain or what they have done. It is in what they are continually seeking or hoping to accomplish or do. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't get excited about what we have accomplished. That does not mean that we do not look back at our successes and just try to move on and focus on the future. You need to be grateful for what you have experienced. But we should always face forward. We should focus on what we can do. Life is always evolving, and we should be evolving as well. We need to change. We need to adapt. We need to improve. We need to progress. That is part of life. We all have setbacks. We all have struggles. I've talked about this before. Everyone will have good days and everyone will have bad days. But if we can focus on how we can make today better than it was yesterday, that will help prepare us for tomorrow. And part of the way we can do that is in reading good books. Right now, for the Music Within portion of our podcast, I would like to have us listen to Ocean Breeze. Now, Ocean Breeze is a meditation relaxation composition that I composed from my album, Chasing Clouds, meditation music. This music is very, very calming. It's set at 60 beats per minute. Now, this particular piece, Ocean Breeze, has the ocean waves in the background, just to calm and lull us. And it's interesting because this music, I created it specifically and intentionally to calm people down, which is why it's set at 60 beats per minute. See, our heartbeat responds to rhythm. And those musicians, composers who film and score for movies. They know this because if they want to calm someone down, they slow the tempo down. If they want to get someone excited, they speed the tempo up. They go faster. It's a little trick in an effort to help calm the listener down and comfort them. I wanted to have the music be calming, and so I slowed the tempo way down. Listen to this. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy this. It's a very peaceful and relaxing album that I had created. And you can listen to that music on Spotify or Pandora, iTunes, Amazon, wherever you'd like to listen to it. It's on all the streaming sites, and you can purchase an album if you'd like, if anyone actually uses CDs anymore. But what I'd like to have you do, think about that calming music. Now, I have spas, chiropractors, massage therapists worldwide who are using that music as they work with patients, as they work with clientele, because the music calms people down. Now, I should probably put a disclaimer on the music, and I should probably say something to the effect of, please do not listen to this music while driving or operating heavy machinery, because it will cause you to sleep. It will relax you, and it will calm you down. My daughter, she's 13 years old right now. When she was 6 or 7 was when I was composing the music for that album, Chasing Clouds. And she came in as I was composing that very piece. And after listening for a minute or two, she said, "Daddy, this music makes me very sleepy." Now, ordinarily, that is not something you want to hear, especially if you are composing music. But in this case, because I was composing meditation or relaxation music, that's okay. And I wanted to have calm, relaxing music that someone could feel as if they were being comforted or soothed. So in this instance, I thought, thank you. That's great. That's what I wanted to hear. Now, if she had said that about some of my techno pop pieces or some of my pop ballads, or that may have been more of a concern for me, because that was not my intention. But when I'm creating comforting meditation or relaxation music, hearing her say, "Daddy, this music puts me to sleep and makes me feel very sleepy," I thought, yes, that is what I'm going for with this particular music. For the Poetry That Motivates section of this podcast, I would like to read to you Let Me Live. Now, this is a poem that I wrote several years ago, and it's one of the poems from the book, The As If Principle, Motivational Poetry. But let me read this to you. It is titled, Let Me Live. It's on page 19 of the book. Let me live. Let me live in a world of wisdom, where knowledge and good books abound. Let me live in a nation of integrity, where honor and truth are found. Let me live in a town where people come first, and neighbors become friends for life. Let me live in a home that is filled with love for the children, husband, and wife. Let me live a life of service and selflessly give all I own. Let me live in peace and prosperity, for in life I am never alone. Now, with that, I wanted to have an interesting imagery. Let me live. In a way, it's kind of a plea. I don't know if it's more of a utopian ideal, which we know does not exist. The perfect society does not exist here on earth. But in there, I talked about let me live in a world. But the first sentence in that poem is let me live in a world of wisdom where knowledge and good books abound. For me, personally, I believe that each book, in a way, becomes a conversant friend with whom we can actually share ideas, learn. As we read, the stories we read become our stories. The knowledge we acquire and learn becomes our knowledge. We take ownership. Every time we read a book and there is either a fictional or a non-fictional character in that book, we begin to associate and assimilate in our minds and our thoughts those attributes that the characters have, and we compare them with our own lives. See, we begin to relate to those characters, whether it's a fictional story and we have fictional characters, and we begin to see the good and the bad within each fictional character, and we see the heroes, we read about the villains, we get sucked into the story, and if it's a very good story, a very good book, then we become so fascinated with the development of the plot. As the plot thickens, we become so attached to what is happening with those characters that they become like friends. In many ways, they become like brothers or sisters or parents because we become so involved in their lives, whether it is made up or whether it is fact. See, we have fact and fiction. Now, you can have a true story, you can have a made-up story, but the stories, even if they are made up and they're not real, they can have a lasting impact on our lives. You think of the great books. As a child, I loved reading everything I could by Dr. Seuss. I think most children, even today, enjoy reading wonderful books by Dr. Seuss. You think of all the great classics that have been written. As I grew up and as I started reading more historical books, personally, I started turning to dictionaries, encyclopedias. I started reading and consuming a lot of nonfiction books, and that's fine. Some people may not enjoy that as much. I love fiction as well, but I can't wait to read nonfiction books, just because there is so much I personally want to learn. And so it is my hope that every day, starting today, we will make a goal to read. Read something every day. Just a little bit every day, 1 or 2 chapters. And before you know it, by the end of the week, you've read an entire book. Well, if there are 52 weeks in a year, then you have just read 52 books that year. Now, what happens if you double that number? What happens if you triple that number? See, the more we read, the more we learn. Some of the brightest minds, the most amazing and influential people in the world, set aside several hours per day just to read. You think of Oprah Winfrey. She is reading nonstop. You think of Warren Buffett. Every day he is reading many books. He sets aside time, scheduled time, where he can read. So, make a goal for yourself today to read. The more you read, the more you can learn, not just about facts and figures, but life situations. It will help you improve because you are what you read. And the more you read, the more you will learn about yourself, about your strengths, your weaknesses, about your successes, your failures, about your potential. The more you read, the more you will be able to understand. And the more you understand about yourself, about others, about life situations, about lifestyles, about religions, about people, about cultures, about the world, the more you read, the better your life will be and become. Not because you won't have any problems, and not because you won't have any hardships or trials that come your way, but because you will have a greater understanding. As you have a greater understanding, you will have a greater ability to understand others. And as you understand others, that personal comprehension that you have, it will help you to have greater empathy for what other people are experiencing. You will be able to have compassion. You will be able to look at others and see them as a human being, not as a neighbor, but as a brother or a sister. You will be able to look at others and you will be able to understand the world through their eyes. So it is my hope that you set aside time, starting today and every day, set aside time to read. The world will be a better place because of it. You will feel better. You will have a greater understanding of the world around you, and you will have a wonderful time just connecting to the words on the page. I think we all need a certain amount of time in our day to disconnect from the hustle and bustle of this world we live in and take time to connect. And each day. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast of music, motivation, and more. Hope you have a wonderful week and continue to be positive in all you do. Keep up the great work, and thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this podcast on music, motivation, and more. I'm so grateful for your support and for taking the time to listen to this podcast. You can learn more about my music and various books I've published by visiting my website, www.musicmotivation.com. My music is available on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, and you can find it all in music stores and streaming sites. My motivational books and poetry books can be purchased on Amazon, from Barnes & Noble, various online bookstores, and also traditional bookstores as well. I release weekly videos on my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Jerald Simon. You can also follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Jerald Simon. If you'd like to, you can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and most social media sites. If you'd like to learn more about motivating and inspiring piano students, please visit my website, www.coolsongsclub.com, to learn how and why I began composing what have become known as fun, cool songs. These cool songs were composed to help motivate piano students the fun way, especially during their teenage years. So I hope you check it out, and please feel free to contact me if you have any questions about anything. My contact info is found on my website, www.musicmotivation.com. But I would love to connect with you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I try to respond to as many questions as I can, and I may answer some on this podcast, or I can email you personally, but I try to respond to as many people as I can. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything. Thank you again for listening. Hope you guys have a great week. See ya.